It was the winter of 1993 when I moved to Hunts Point, a place where death was routine and survival wasn't promised.
Murder on the Point. It was the winter of '93 when the moving truck pulled up in front of 876 Bryant Avenue, Hunts Point. I was 16, almost 17. The cold bit at my fingers and nose as I pressed my face against the window, staring at the place that was about to become home. Hunts Point wasn't like the rest of the South Bronx. It had its own rules, dirty, alive, driven by money and flesh. The air was thick with diesel fumes. The stairwells reeked of piss. Garbage spilled out of dented wire cans, rats fat as cats darting in and out like they were on shift work. The warehouses along the waterfront hummed with truck engines, and once the sun went down, the streets belonged to the night. The women claimed them first. Bold, relentless, they turned tricks and parked trucks in the back seats of cars, sometimes right in the middle of the street if that's what the John wanted. Traffic stopped for them. Horns blared, but nobody pushed them off their stage. Fire escapes became hotel rooms. Dark hallways, bridges swallowed them whole. Hunts Point was a red light district without the red lights, transactions everywhere, at all hours. And the pimps, tall in their long coats, leaned on lampposts like kings, eyes sharp, watching everything. Truckers pulled over without shame, headlights catching shadows pressed against bumpers. Hunts Point never pretended to be something it wasn't. It was raw, exposed. But Bryant Avenue was different. There were no kids playing in the street, no rope skipping, no stickball, no laughter spilling from windows, no pimps holding corners, no women hustling in the open. Bryant carried a silence heavier than noise. Even the police stayed away. That was the street we moved on to. That was the building my mother chose, 876 Bryant Avenue, the 4 building. The building reminded me of New Jack City. Not exactly the same, but close enough to send a shiver through me. Mustard yellow bricks stacked high, fire escapes zigzag like scars. And the entrance wasn't a lobby, it was an archway, a dark passage cut straight through the building. From the sidewalk, you could see the courtyard on the other side, but stepping inside was different. The air shifted, sounds echoed, footsteps, voices, the hollow roll of a bottle. Light thinned, shadows stuck to the corners. Graffiti climbed the bricks layer over layer. The floor stained with piss and old beer. You couldn't walk through it without feeling eyes on you. That archway was a threshold. Once you crossed under, you weren't just on Bryant anymore. You were in the 4 building. And the 4 building belonged to the Bryant Boys. The moving truck hadn't even finished backing in when they showed up. Men slid out of the lobby like smoke. Faces peered from windows. Others crossed the street slow, deliberate. Whistles echoed, sharp bird-like sounds bouncing between the walls. A code, a warning. They stood there watching us unload. Eyes hard, faces unreadable. And that's when I saw him, Corey. Leaning in the doorway like the building was his throne, brown skin catching the last scraps of daylight, eyes too old for his age, eyes that didn't blink. He wasn't fine, but he was cute, the kind of cute that made my stomach flutter. Behind him stood a woman in gray sweats and a hoodie, hair pulled back tight, cheekbones sharp, no makeup, no jewelry, no softness. Her stare was flat, deadly calm, like she could eat a bullet for breakfast and lick her fingers after. That was Corey's mother. I didn't know her name, but I knew better than cross her. Nazarene, my mother's voice cut through the air. She stood in the lobby, arms folded, eyes scanning every man in the courtyard. When I reached her, she leaned down, voice low and sharp. You don't be out here with your ass on your shoulders, smelling your ass and switching it around these niggas like you grown. We're only here for a year. We're gonna mind our business and keep them out of ours. You hear me? I nodded, but when I glanced back, Corey was still watching me. Inside, the apartment was cold. The radiator was dead. The walls were raw plaster, smelling of paint and damp. But I didn't care. For the first time in almost 5 years, all of us were together again. 5 sisters, 1 brother. Foster care had scattered us like dice across New York, my siblings in strangers' homes, and the only time we saw each other was at Harlem dialing West Side Children and Family Services. Those visits were agony, hugging tight, whispering promises, then watching my youngest sister pulled from my arms when it was time to go. Now we were under one roof again. The walls could have been falling down and I wouldn't have cared. Later, as the sky shifted from blue to purple, I walked to the corner store. Corey was waiting outside. He walked with me. His smile was calm, his voice easy. He asked where I came from. I told him the truth. Foster care, almost 5 years away from my sisters and brother, Harlem dialing visits. He nodded, no pity in his eyes. Then he told me his story. He was the oldest of 9. He lived in group homes until he ran away. He found his mother, the woman in the gray sweats, and stayed with her. Hustling with her, he said, was better than any group home. When I told him our heat wouldn't work, he didn't even blink. Come with me. I followed him under the archway passage to his building across from mine. The stairwell reeked of piss. The apartment he brought me into was abandoned, but not empty. Filthy clothes covered the floor, some stacked high like makeshift bedding. The air was heavy with mildew, piss, sweat, and rotten food. It wrapped around you, stuck to your skin, crawled up your nose. Rats darted across the floor, bold, unafraid. Graffiti peeled from the walls, no lights, just slivers of sunset slicing through broken glass. This was where he stayed. Corey bent down, dug through the mess, and pulled out a small space heater. It won't heat the whole place, but it'll keep your baby sister warm. What about you? I asked. He shrugged. Don't worry about me. She needs it more. That night, the heater hummed. My baby sister slept in warmth. My crush deepened. He wasn't just cute anymore. He was kind. But Hunts Point didn't let you rest easy. The first night, a man walked the block yelling like a vendor at a ball game. Red top, green top, 1, 2, 3. Crack vials. He shouted them like ice cream flavors. Nobody stopped him. The police never came. On Bryant Avenue, the law didn't exist. The second night, I woke to gunfire. Short, sharp burst. A scream ripped through the air. Then silence. My sisters whimpered in their beds. My mother sat up, her jaw tight, eyes fixed on the ceiling. By the third night, the world exploded. Red and blue lights cut through the blinds. Floodlights lit the courtyard so bright it looked like noon. I pressed my face to the glass. It felt like a movie set staged for cameras, but this wasn't film. FBI, NYPD, undercover units, maybe every cop in the Bronx swarmed the block. They slammed a steel battering ram against the bodega's basement door over and over until it cracked. Radios squawked, boots pounded, voices shouted orders, evidence bags, bundles, stretchers, bodies. And still, the next morning, Corey was there. He walked me to the bus stop every day, waited after school, stood outside the building like he belonged there. And every day, my stomach was tight as wire because almost every day, another body turned up. Someone shot, someone dead. Hunts Point was bleeding, and no one said who held the knife. One afternoon, I walked into the courtyard and froze. Corey stood there, twirling a gun like a toy. He spun it, caught it, spun it again, like a cowboy in some dusty western. The metal flashed and my breath caught. My face stayed calm. Bronx instinct, pretend you don't see, pretend you don't know. He looked up, saw me stop spinning, tucked the gun away quick, walked over. His voice was low. Go upstairs, go in the house. It wasn't a request. The second I closed the apartment door, shots rang out. Fast, close, running feet, shouts, more gunfire. My sister screamed. My mother yanked us from the windows, pulled us to the floor until the shooting stopped. Later that night, behind the walls, the Bryant Boys' voices carried, bragging, laughing, talking about killings like they were games. And every morning, Corey was waiting. Every day I walked beside him to the bus stop, my heart pounding, pretending to smile, pretending not to hear the whispers, pretending not to wonder if the boy beside me, cute, kind, was the same shadow that haunted Bryant Avenue. Because in the 4 building, death was always close. The killings didn't stop. If anything, they grew louder, closer. Every few days, another body. A man dumped in the street, someone shot on the corner, someone bleeding out in the stairwell. On Bryant, death became routine, like the building was cursed, swallowing men whole. My mother heard the voices through the walls, heard the laughter when the Bryant Boys bragged about the night before. She'd worked too hard to get clean, too hard to get us back. She wasn't letting her children get pulled into anyone else's sins. Her eyes cut sharp whenever she saw me with Corey. "You stay away from him," she said. "You don't know what kind of enemies he's making, and if you stand next to him, you'll take the bullets meant for him." I nodded, but it wasn't that simple. Corey was always there, every morning walking me to the bus stop, his serious eyes softening when he saw me. Every afternoon leaning in the doorway like he had nowhere else to be. Cute, kind. The boy who gave me a heater so my baby sister wouldn't freeze. The boy who twirled a gun like a cowboy. I walked beside him with my heart thudding like a drum. Every step, I wondered if someone was watching, waiting to make their move. If the next burst of gunfire would catch me at his side. At night, I pressed my ear to the pillow and listened to the block breathe. Rats scurrying in the garbage. Engines rumbling from the factories. And sometimes in the distance, a woman's scream tearing through the dark, almost always followed by the crack of gunfire. The Bryant Boys controlled the 4 building. They decided who stood in the courtyard, who could sell, who could live, and every day another body fell. The police didn't come. They didn't want to. By God's grace, our year ended. When the lease was up, my mother packed us and moved us out, away from Hunts Point, away from Bryant Avenue, away from the 4 building. We left the yellow bricks behind, the rats, the silence of a street owned by killers. But Corey stayed. I don't know where he is now. Maybe he's locked up. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's still there, leaning in that doorway, serious eyes watching, spinning a gun in his hand like a toy. Back then on Bryant Avenue, death was always near. And somehow I walked away. By God's mercy, I survived.